Welcome to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference. And so we get to kick it off talking about charity tech. We are joined by Jason Shelton. He's the program manager with HandsOn Nashville's GeekCause, and Bradley Martin Sr., director of customer acquisition with Kindful. How are you two guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks, Jeremy.
So charity
doing
tech,
awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about charity tech in terms of using technology to obviously power the good and help nonprofits. Lead off, though, on your end, Jason, with a little bit of the HandsOn Nashville kind of tie to what you're doing with GeekCause. So I'll let you take it away with GeekCause. Let's start there.
Sure. Well, I work with HandsOn Nashville. HandsOn Nashville is well known in the community as a volunteer hub, a place where people go to find out how they can serve in their community. A couple of years ago, JJ Rosen with Atiba had the idea that he wanted his employees, which is a kind of a tech support firm, wanted to have them have an opportunity to give back, knowing their expertise. What could they do to serve the nonprofit community? And started just kind of doing that on his own, and eventually grew it enough that there became a programmatic need to have it managed. And so HandsOn Nashville, JJ happens to be on our board. And HandsOn Nashville took over the program about a year and a half ago. So what we do is kind of like what HandsOn Nashville regularly does, which is match volunteers with community need. But the skills involved with IT matching means that there's a recruiting process that I actually am constantly recruiting IT volunteers, people who bring a wide variety of tech skills, and looking at the need in the nonprofit community and how do we match those two things together. Nonprofits are notorious for not really taking the time to think about their technology needs. It feels like a luxury that maybe they can't afford. And we know that so much can be improved. So many organizations that are trying to serve their communities can do so much more and be more effective if they have tech in place that is useful and is functional. So having volunteers who actually know how to do those things makes a world of difference. Sometimes we do projects that are major app development work, and sometimes it's it's a simple thing like our internet's just not working in the back of the building and we can't get anyone to fix it. And a volunteer spends 3 hours figuring out what the needs are, getting it set up, and it makes a transformational change in the organization.
Give me maybe one or two, because obviously the matchmaking side in and of itself is a success metric, but what are the things that you look at to great success?
Well, we certainly survey our partners. We look at, did you get what you needed? Did you get it in a timely fashion? What's the overall value? We count the hours that our volunteers put into a project, but that's not, we can monetize those hours, but that doesn't necessarily tell you how valuable the project is. I can have an $86,000 custom database development project that's incredibly valuable to organization. And I can have that project I just told you about, which was 3 hours of volunteer time, which makes it possible for that organization to do their job. And no amount of customization can change the fact that their staff couldn't get on Wi-Fi, right? So that 3 hour project made a complete transformation of that organization to fulfill its capacity. And that's what we are as HandsOn Nashville, as a capacity builder for a nonprofit community. So, the big numbers are flashy and they're exciting, but sometimes it's that little number that actually makes the biggest impact.
Let's switch it over, Bradley, on your end and give us an overview of your business, because I think it's pretty cool. You've got for-profit and nonprofit kind of working together, and there's some other collaborators we'll talk about in a second too that are really teaming up in this charity tech space to make a difference. But go ahead and dive in on your end and give us an overview, because you're using software to really help nonprofits become a lot more mindful of how they engage donors.
Yeah, that's right. So Kindful is a SaaS company that's local here to Nashville. And we are a fundraising and donor management solutions built specifically for nonprofit organizations. And really our goal from day one was to try to help nonprofits better understand their donors and make online fundraising a lot easier for organizations. As more and more people are moving online, one of the things we still see is, or if not more and more people are moving online. Everybody's online. And one of the things we still see is nonprofits, still raise so much of their funds offline, but their donors want to give online. And so our goal was really to try to just make that easier. And we're fortunate enough to work with over 2,400 nonprofits that use Kindful service to do just that. And so, and that's growing pretty steadily every month, that we've got more and more nonprofits using the service.
Give me one thing that stands out to you is kind of a aha, or when you talk about nonprofits becoming more in tune with their donors. And obviously, like you said, so many want to give online. And so that in and of itself is a big one. But give me maybe one or two, just by doing this work, it's kind of an aha moment you think nonprofits really need to understand.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is, I would say, donor retention and understanding, who's giving to you and how often, and if they stopped giving to you for some reason. As something as simple as a credit card expiring, many nonprofits struggle to know that has occurred. And so just being able to send an email to say, hey, Mr. or Miss Donor, your credit card is expired and your donation didn't process. Such a simple thing, but oftentimes the donors don't even know that happened. And maybe it isn't on their list. You get an email from Netflix. Why wouldn't you get an email from a nonprofit that you love and support? And they probably still want to support them, but they may just not know that their donations aren't going through anymore. So something just that simple is something that a platform like ours could help nonprofits do automatically.
Yeah, that's a great one. Talk about responding to COVID-19, because you on your end are offering a lot of things that are new and exciting. And, normally there'd be a little bit of a fee structure, but you're saying, hey, because of COVID-19, we want to help. So talk about how you're responding on your end to help nonprofits.
Yep, sure. So a couple of things. One is a software like ours typically has an annual contract and things like that you agree to. And one of the things we wanted to do right away is we made our service the opportunity to use it month to month. So you can kind of come in and try it out and see if that's something that you would like, and does it help? And if not, you can cancel at any time. So that was a big thing. In addition, we have kind of some additional data layers that we can provide that really help nonprofits understand their donors better. And we gave that for free to all of our customers immediately to help. And then lastly, one of the things that Jason kind of mentioned is there's a lack of training for nonprofits about how to even use software like ours. So one of the things that we've been highly focused on is understanding, especially with COVID going on and organizations not being able to gather, not being able to meet in person. One of the biggest challenges nonprofits have faced is, how do I replace the funds from in-person events? Because in-person events is a huge way nonprofits typically raise funds. And so we've been doing free online seminars and webinars and training, and we've been gathering some of the nation's most prolific trainers and thought leaders around how to do some of the online events, and brought them to the table and just did free seminars. And we've had over 10,000 nonprofit professionals attend those seminars so far since COVID started, or we're just hosting those. And so those are all available on our website. People can go watch them for free, but our goal really is just to provide some thought leadership there as well, and some training as people are trying to figure out how to navigate these really uncertain times.
Yeah, I love it. Jason, go ahead and carry that forward on your end and talk about some of the things that you're doing. And then we'll talk about teaming up, obviously, and charity tech organizations working together. So give us a little bit of, on your end, responding to COVID-19.
Well, the GeekCause program itself has been virtual all along. I've never met the vast majority of the volunteers that I work with. I've not met the nonprofit organizations that they get partnered up with. We have conference calls and video calls and virtual project management and all that stuff. I know that it happens. I know that it's over, and we thank each other. And then eventually, if you happen to have an in-person gathering someday, well, maybe we'll see each other. But it's a pretty rare thing to actually visit any of these folks on site. Most of the projects themselves are virtual. That you don't have to be on site unless it's a hardware kind of thing. So that actually, the program has been able to go on just like nothing had happened. And in fact, I've had more volunteers sign up because they've got a little more time on their hands. Though I'm not sure people are looking for more Zoom calls. So there's that. Um, but we also we're grateful to partner with the Frist Foundation and the Center for Nonprofit Management. They gave out a series of remote working grants to nonprofits when in May it became really clear that this transition to remote work was going to be a thing for quite a while. A lot of our, especially smaller nonprofits, are living on an edge technologically where they're barely capable, and adding the layer of now you have to work remotely just made it really, really difficult for a lot of our nonprofit partners. So we were happy when they gave out those grants. They said, if you need help with implementing this, with getting your new hardware, getting set up with your whatever software you need to purchase, especially Zoom accounts and things like that, we can provide you volunteers who will help get you set up and make sure you're functional. So we were able to help 12 or 13 nonprofit organizations just get set up with the things that they needed for remote working. And that just looks like a thing that's going to be around for a while.
So let's talk. You've got Kindful, Generous, Givful teaming up, obviously, with GeekCause as well. So you've got 4 charity tech organizations and businesses that are working together. Talk about this collaboration and working together and what that means for really Middle Tennessee and beyond.
Many nonprofits, like we've been mentioned, are on the front line of this pandemic, and they're already under financial strain. They're underserved, they're under-resourced, and things like that. So I think all of these organizations really came together and trying to find ways to just help during this time and to find opportunities and ways that we can help. And, and I think us all realizing that this is something we're all doing, wanted to share that news. And I think it's really kind of just as simple as that.
I also think
there is a
point, Jason, is the fact that by being charity tech, by leveraging technology, you're in a unique position where you are equipped both with the skill set, but also the virtual platforms to be able to step in this sort of environment and really help. And I think that's a huge advantage where you already have the infrastructure, the expertise, and the platforms to be able to really step in and help. And now it's a matter of collaborating and actually lifting together.
Certainly our people are, Bradley and I have never talked, but we talk about each other a lot. I talked to somebody this morning who uses their platform, uses Kindful, and is looking to how do we use it to do this next thing, and can we get someone who knows this and who knows that, and how and so this interrelatedness of not only the nonprofit community, but the technology community in Nashville is certainly booming in that way as a technology hub. And the volunteer spirit that goes with, being a Tennessean, I suppose, that rubs off on even the transplants that are coming in droves. But we're seeing so many of the companies that are here wanting to give back. They're wanting to make a contribution. They're wanting to use the skills that they have to better the community that we all share. And I think all of us are taking the pieces of that we know how to do. And making the impact that we can, which I think is really exciting.
For each one of you, I'm curious, give me something that you've learned either about yourself or your organization going through this process with COVID-19 and everything we're dealing with that in the end is going to make you a stronger organization.
I would say that I think nonprofit organizations kind of pride themselves on their resilience and their can-do-itness. We're going to go get this thing done. You do it with limited resources. You get blood from a stone a lot of the time. And I think what is happening right now is we're all learning that we have to ask for help. We have to lean on each other. We have to really feel that sense of connectedness as a community. And even HandsOn Nashville, we're having to say, you know what, there's stuff that we need help too. We almost never ask for volunteers for ourselves. And it's, we're at the point where like, well, we need help. We have to have that vulnerability as a community to say to one another, we can get each other out of this jam if we do it together. And that I think is a really valuable lesson, which I hope will extend beyond the pandemic, and really affect the way we relate with each other.
Yeah. Bradley, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I think, being a for-profit software company, one of the things I realize is we get so tied up in selling software, right? And trying to provide, and as part of that, it's providing a solution to problems. But one of the things that happened right as we saw COVID really picking up, it was the week of March 19th. I think it was on March 19th. We held our first panel discussion. We realized we didn't have the answers. And so we grabbed 3 folks together that we knew were really smart. We knew they didn't have the answers at the time either. But we wanted to just have a really open discussion about what do we think is going to happen. And we had 2,500 nonprofit professionals sign up for that webinar. And we did no slides. We did nothing. We did 15 minutes of questions, and then we let the audience ask all the questions. And it was one of the most authentic conversations I've had since I've been at Kindful about helping nonprofits. And so I think for us, this is a thing we're going to continue to do, is bring together some of the smartest people we can find that know so much more than us and provide really authentic conversations, versus us just talking at people or us just trying to, show that our software is a good solution for the problem you have. And it's probably been one of the most fulfilling and interesting learnings I've had of my whole career, is just this idea that people just want to hear other people talk about how to do things better, and especially in a time like this. And so it's been just really, really amazing to see our audience really take it in, and then the fulfillment we get for providing that thought leadership and that guidance especially during a time like this.
Let's go ahead and wrap up and talk about where everyone can go to learn more. So Bradley, on your end, go ahead and talk about Kindful, website, social media. Where do we go?
Yeah, for the website, it's just kindful.com, just kindful.com. And then on all the social platforms, we're at Kindful app. And so the blog, like I said, has all those talks I've talked about, all there recorded. You can go check them out. But that's where you can find us.
And then Jason, on your end, go ahead and talk about GeekCause and where we can learn more.
Sure. You want to go to the HandsOn Nashville website. That's HON.org. You can sign up for any number of volunteer opportunities there to serve in the Nashville nonprofit community in any capacity you can imagine. If you can think of a way to serve, we've got a connection for you there. Specifically, HON.org/GeekCause, and you can find out more about this program that I work with. And we'd be really happy to talk to anyone who's interested in volunteering or nonprofit organizations with technology needs. We'd be happy to talk with you about how we can help.
Well, Jason, Bradley, thank you for all you do, for working together to power the good as well with everything going on. So thank you for all you do and for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Take care.